Hello, friends. Kat here. How are you? I hope everyone's doing okay in these incredibly trying times. Well, I look very red. Well, we're just going to have to accept the red. This is part 2 of my examination of the 2 pieces of Ernest Holmes' The Science of Mind that were included in the 1926 original text and were deleted from the 1938 revision, the revised edition, which from that time until this is considered the definitive text and the one that is used as the textbook for science of mind, new thought, religious science, etc. In part 1, took a look at what is referred to in the book as lesson 6, which has to do with the law of psychic phenomena. And if you're interested in that, if you haven't already seen it, you might want to check out part 1 for that. This part, the second, is about the second chunk of the book. That it's not even you can't even call it a chapter. It's called a special article. And the name of this particular special article that was deleted from the 1926 edition is called Repression and Sublimation. And I honestly don't know why it was deleted. I really don't. I think it's brilliant. I mean, I can understand why the stuff that was dealt with in part 1 was deleted. And if you want to know why, if you haven't looked at it yet, watch it. Maybe you'll understand why. I'm not going into that right now. It's all there for you. If you haven't looked at part 1, but this, I don't understand why this was deleted from the 1938 edition. I think it's brilliant. So, and honestly, it's very deeply affecting. And again, you have to consider the source. You have to realize that it's a product of its times. And in 1938, a lot of what's discussed is very progressive and probably was not considered to be appropriate. And now, with the context of everything that has happened between then and now, I don't understand why this is not restored to the main canon and why a refreshed edition is not considered, in which this is included. I'm going to read it. Shouldn't take too long, about 45 minutes, I guess. I have, as I like to do, I have handwritten it, and I'm going to read from my handwritten copy. I also have a playlist out where I wrote out the entire Bhagavad Gita, and it's also read into YouTube in 4 different 45-minute parts, and there's a playlist for that too. If you want to look at my channel, it's there. But anyway, be that as it may, this is how I like to do it. I like to write out my own and read from that. So without further digression or unnecessary elimination, I'll just plow forward. The Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes, 1926 edition. Section deleted for the 1938 definitive edition, which has been the case ever since, and is the official textbook of the Church of Religious Science, Science of Mind, New Thought, etc., etc. This is the special article entitled Repression and Sublimation. We have discovered from the preceding chapters that the universe is threefold in nature. It is spirit, soul, and body. Spirit is the active, projective, masculine factor. Soul is the receptive, creative, feminine factor. And body, which is the result of a union of spirit and soul. The spirit impregnates the soul with its ideas, and the soul gives form to these ideas and clothes them with flesh. This is the Trinity of Unity, a triune oneness, for the three are really one. This actually has a lot in common with modern Wicca and neo-paganism, which is something that could be explored at another time. To continue, life is androgynous, i.e., it contains within itself both the masculine and the feminine factors. The male and the female of creation, and that's creation with a capital C, come from one principle. All come from the one, and all will return to the one. All are now in the one, and all will forever remain in the one. Behind all manifestation must be the desire to create, the urge to express. This is called the divine urge. This urge, with a capital U, operating as law, produces energy. Desire gathers energy for creative purposes and utilizes power to express itself. So dynamic is this urge that it will cause a little seed to break open the most solid earth in order that it may express itself in the form of a plant. It is the coming forth of spirit into expression, the loosing of energy into action, and is apparent in all creation. The spirit, being absolute, is always expressed. It has no unfulfilled desires. This in the following sentence in the text is in all caps. It is always satisfied and happy because it is always expressed. End caps. Creation is the result of the desire of spirit to express itself. It is the unfoldment of the divine ideas. Evolution is the time and process of this unfoldment. Involution is the idea in mind, and evolution is the coming forth of the idea into expression. Involution precedes evolution, and evolution follows involution with a mathematical precision propelled by an immutable law. That which is involved must evolve, else spirit would remain unexpressed. As this is unthinkable, we may set it down that evolution, or the manifestation of desire and energy, is bound to take place whenever desire sets power and energy in motion. From this law, we cannot hope to escape, and it would be useless to make the attempt. Man, as we have discussed, reenacts the divine nature and makes use of the same law that God uses. We find in man the same androgynous nature that we find in God. This nature we call his objective and subjective faculties. His objective mentality impregnates is subjective with ideas, and in its turn, the subjective, gathering force and energy, projects these ideas into forms. Behind every act of man is some form of desire to express. This desire, of course, is purely mental in its nature. All that man is his mentality, conscious and subconscious, plus that which he expresses. The divine urge is strong in man and constantly causes him to seek some form of self expression. It is divine because it is the desire of spirit to express itself through him. Like all the other forces of nature, this energy can work through man only at his bidding, consciously or unconsciously, for he is an individual and has self choice. This urge or energy is called a libido, which means the emotional craving or wish behind all human activities, the repression of which leads to psychoneurosis. The energy set in motion through this urge is the dynamic power of mind, and unless it becomes expressed, it will congest and cause conflict within the mentality. Inhibited action produces conflicts and complexes, which meant which mentally tear and bind, and as they manifest their physical correspondence, they produce nervous disorders. It is claimed that a large percentage of diseases are caused by the suppression of some form of emotion. This does not necessarily mean the suppression of the sex emotion, but might mean any desire that remains unexpressed. Some form of desire is behind every impulse that the mind can conceive, some impulse to express life. Any unexpressed desire will eventually cause a complex. Things will stand just so much pressure and no more. When the limit is reached, an explosion will follow unless some avenue of expression is provided. People who are constantly being irritated have suppressed some desire to speak their minds. It may not appear as though this were the cause. Thought is very subtle, and only a careful study of its working reveals the real facts. All irritation and agitation are mental in their cause, and a sense of calm and peace alone can heal them. Fear is an intense emotion, and if bottled up, secretes poison in the system. Fear must be removed from the mentality if one is to be healed and is to function normally. Anger, malice, vindictiveness, and kindred emotions are, are but subtle forms of fear arising from a sense of inferiority. All of these emotions must be swept off the board if one is to gain peace, calm, and poise. The union of peace, calm, and poise alone can give birth to power. Without these attributes of reality, power is dissipated and lost in the shuffle. If we were completely expressed, we would never become sick or unhappy. The average person goes through life the average person goes through life expressed only in part and always with a sense of incompletion or dissatisfaction. Something must be done to make the individual complete if he is to remain normal, happy, and really live. Emotion is strong in man, and in the well balanced person, it is controlled by the intellect. In many cases, emotion gains ascendancy. Our strongest emotions center around the ideas of fear, hate, love, sex, and worship, with all their many ramifications and meanings. Emotion, uncontrolled, produces chaos. Unexpressed, it produces confusion, conflict, and complex. For energy will have an outlet. Bottled up, it creates a pressure that is the cause of much damage to the physical man and produces most of our nervous disorders. Expression is normal when the intellect decides how the emotion is going to manifest. He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than that who taketh a city. Proverbs 16:32. When an emotion conflicts with the will and becomes suppressed, it returns to its subjective state but remains active. It will come up in some other form. It will not be put down. It may remain in a subjective state for years, but eventually, unless neutralized, it will manifest. Let one go for years with some unexpressed longing, and he will have created such a desire that it will have become irresistible in its inclination towards expression. People often become seething cauldrons within because of inhibited action. Energy must find an outlet. Human love and the affections often go hand in hand with sex desire, even when not recognized as such. An affectionate nature generally goes an affectionate nature is generally in hand with sex desire, even when, an affectionate nature generally is generally a passionate one. Love is the most wonderful thing in the world and creates the highest form of energy known to the mind of man. It will be expressed at the level of the passions or else become transmuted into spiritual coin. And those two words are in caps. Or we'll start with caps. Spiritual coin, capital S, capital C. Transmuted into spiritual coin of real and lasting value. But the ideas on sex are likely to become overemphasized in modern literature along these lines. Sex is normal in its proper sphere. If it were not, it would not be, for nature does nothing without some good and ample reason. The true meaning of love is a wonderful thing, for it is the desire of the soul to express itself in terms of creation. Creation is brought about only through the self givingness of the lover to the object of his love. This is why, when we love people, we will go to the limit to help or serve them. Nothing is too great, no sacrifice is enough. The true lover gives all and is unhappy in not having still more of himself to give to the object of his adoration. Because of our emotional nature, love is generally expressed through the sex desire, but too great an expression of this desire is destructive, for it depletes the vitality and demagnetizes the one who overindulges. This is the meaning and the whole meaning of the story of Samson and Delilah. He that hath an ear, let him hear. Revelations 2:7. All people look, and occasionally someone sees. The sex relationship is not necessary to the expression of real love. Love is the givingness of the self, and if this givingness is complete, sex will take care of itself. But energy must have some outlet. It is only when the unexpressed desire remains in the subjective that destruction follows in its wake and strews the shores of time with human derelicts. Liberty and license, freedom and bondage, heaven and hell, happiness and misery, good and bad, all, twice, it's written in the book, are tied up in human desires. Energy is energy and will be expressed or blow the top off, just as a pipe will stand only so much pressure before bursting. Millions are daily being blown up mentally and physically through the suppression of desires. Desire is a dynamic force and must be taken into account. Sex desire becomes destructive only when it remains an unexpressed longing. This theory is not put forth to encourage free love nor to advocate indiscriminate relationships. Neither one nor the other is believed in by the author. It is stated as a fact patent to any thinking person. Libido may be expressed through more than one avenue, through transmutation, freeing life's energies and lifting them into an avenue of constructive expression, or through sublimation, transfusing the essence of energy into high action and producing a magnetism that is irresistible and wonderful in its scope. The atmosphere of one thus charged is complete, for the energy then takes the form of real love and is the highest and most powerful vibration on the physical plane. Man, coming from unity, is both male and female and has within himself both attributes of reality. In some, the male predominates, in others, the female. We have two distinct types in man and woman. They are types of one fundamental principle. There is also an indeterminate sex, that is, one in which the two attributes seem to be almost equally balanced. The greatest men and women of the ages have belonged to this type, for it is a more complete balance between the two, which are really one. But, and this is what it says in the book, this is too great a topic to discuss in this course of lessons. The solution to the problem of desire is to transmute any destructive tendency into some form of action that is constructive. However, an intellectual form of expression alone will not do this, for only those things to which we may give the complete self will solve the problem. Love is the givingness of the self to the object of its adoration. We should all have something that we love to do, something that will completely express the self, something that will loose the energies of life into action and transmute the power into creative work. We should learn to love all people and not just some people. It is very disastrous to feel that we cannot live unless we possess some one individual, body and soul. This is not love, but is an idea of possession, which often becomes an obsession. No soul is really complete until he feels complete within himself. This does not exclude the great human relationships which mean so much to all of us. It does take the sting out of life and does free the individual to love all, adore some, and find happiness everywhere. To feel that love is unrequited creates a longing so intense that it tears the very heart out of life and throws the one so feeling into a fit of despondency from which it is indeed hard to recover. This feeling is met in the truth by knowing that love is eternal and real and cannot be added to nor taken from. This may seem like a hard teaching. The problems of humanity deal largely with the human relationships. Until they are harmonized, there can be no lasting happiness. Happiness is from within. Like all other qualities of the spirit, man is already complete and perfect. He needs to realize the truth. I can imagine someone saying that this is too impersonal a teaching, and it is not impersonal at all. This does not mean that we care less for people. Indeed, we shall find that for the first time in life, we shall really care. The sting will have gone. Refuse to have your feelings hurt. Refuse yourself the pleasure and morbidity of sensitiveness. Come out of the emotional intoxication and be yourself. Never allow the thought to become depressed nor morbid. Engage in some form of activity that will express the better self. Do not attempt to draw life from others. Live the life that God gave you. It is ample and complete. But, people will say, I believe in affinities. If by this one means that each is only one half of a real person and must find the other half in order to be expressed, he is mistaken. Such persons usually find a second affinity as soon as the first disappears. We all have a natural affinity for each other, since we all live in one common mind and in one unified spirit. It is all right if we wish to specialize on some particular love. The hurt will remain unless love has a broader scope than when narrowed down to one single person. Live, love, and laugh. Let the heart be glad and free. Rejoice in the thought of life and be happy. Realize the higher power in and through all and unify with the whole. Why take fragments when the whole is there for the taking? The entry is closed somewhat anticlimactically, in my opinion, with brief thoughts on psychoanalysis, of which Holmes does not approve, and self-analysis, of which he does. This ends the deleted special article, Repression and Sublimation. And again, to reiterate, I really don't understand why this was deleted from the 1938 edition. There is one other little thing that was in the 1924 edition. And the 1926 original text. And was left out of the 1938 edition. It's a little poem. Comes after the foreword. It's called Yourself. Oh, weary heart laden with earth's weight and care. Oh, feet stumbling on the way, bleeding and bare. Oh, arms outstretched and hands upheld in prayer. Oh, back which so oft has felt the lash and rod. O soul which cries out for the living God. O life struggling to free itself from the clod. Know, know this, there is no power from without. Yourself must answer every fear and meet all doubt. With some divine indwelling power, which you yourself upon yourself shall shower, and giving take, and taking give unto that life which you yourself shall live. And that's about it. I hope that you enjoyed that and found it interesting. For those of you who may be familiar only with the 1938 edition, which is the textbook that's taught in your Science of Mind and the Center for Spiritual Living churches on Sunday, they don't teach this. Wonder why? I honestly don't have an answer. I don't understand why this was deleted from the 1926 text. Again, it's The Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes. Both versions, both the 1926 and the 1938, are available on Amazon. And if you care to do more exploration on your own, I would encourage you to do so. It's life-changing stuff, and I think that anyone who puts the effort into it will get a corresponding result. So with that, I will hope that you all stay beautiful, stay healthy, stay well, and I'll see you again soon.